YouTube, my name's Erin Anastasia, and today we're going to talk about why I can do this. So, why can I take my tooth out? Have I always been able to take my tooth out? No. I had some pretty serious dental surgery a few months ago. That is the primary reason why there haven't been poetry videos on this channel, was because I had a missing tooth for 2 months. I won't get into like everything that happened inside my mouth because it's really long and complicated. So long story short, I had a tooth there. It was a little baby tooth that had a crown on it, so you couldn't tell it was little because there was a fake tooth surrounding it. And the bone that tooth was attached to, like the roots up in there, the bone decided, oh, there's not a tooth here to support anymore. We don't need to be here, guys. Pack it up, dissolve into her body. We're set, like there's nothing for us to support. So my bone basically dissolved and my tooth, as a result, was falling out, and I was very afraid that it would fall out while I was on stage. It was like the reoccurring nightmare scenario in my mind. So I'm like, all right, I need to get the surgery. I've known I needed to get it for years now. I was just dreading it because it's like very, very expensive. So I got the surgery. Basically what they did, they took out my tooth, they put some, they call it a matrix, where it's like mixed with like animal bone and synthetic lab whatnot, and they put it all together and put it up in my gums and then sew my gums shut, and in like 4 to 6 months there will be a real human bone up in there. And in that time I will be able to get a fake tooth permanently put up in there attached to the new bone thing. For the time being though, I have this nice retainer that gives me a lisp. I had a retainer after I had my braces off years ago. I know that it gives me a lisp, and I was so worried. I'm like, how am I gonna perform poetry? How am I gonna feel confident on stage? And then I got the retainer, I realized it gave me a slight lisp, and I decided that I don't care. Like, not even a little bit, I don't care. And I think the reason why I don't really care is because I already have lived with a speech impediment. If you haven't noticed, I don't always properly say my R's, and to prove that to you, here is a supercut of me mispronouncing R's in poems.
Let you sit in the front seat of my not minivan, Anthony. Tell you how mean the world is. Teach you what curse words mean. Spoil you with heavy checks on your birthday and hug you harder than your mother does, Aunt.
Or do we hide? Do we retreat so far into ourselves that we forget what the sun even looks like? Once my laptop has closed, when my mind isn't quite tired enough for sleep. The R sound has been a problem since I was a kid. I grew up with not only my R sound, but like a myriad of speech issues. And I had no idea, like no idea what I sounded like. I thought I was speaking perfectly normal. And it dawned on me when I was watching a videotape of myself. My mom loved bringing out the camera recorder, and I remember watching like whatever my mom recorded that day and listening to my voice for the first time and breaking down in tears and just saying over and over again, that's not me, that's not what I sound like. And my mom was like so shocked. Like, I was like 5 or 6 at the time, and I was just like very self-conscious, and she of course didn't want that. So she took me to speech therapy, and I had like the greatest speech therapist ever, and she like knocked out all but one of my speech issues, which was the R sound. And I still, until 4th grade, could not properly pronounce my R sound. I couldn't even properly pronounce my own name, which was very embarrassing because whenever you meet a new person, which is like very often, you have to say your name. And I couldn't, because I would say Erin, and people go, what was it? Ellen? And I go, no, Erin. And they go, Erin, got it. And I was like a little kid, like being stressed about saying my name, like it wasn't good. I remember one time I went to the nurse's office and my friend was there, and my friend kind of caught on that I didn't like to introduce myself to people. So when the nurse asked for my name, she said, oh, this is Erin. And I'll just always remember that as like such a nice thing that someone did for me. So I went through the school speech system, which sucked. Like, for whatever reason, any school speech therapist I went to was like the worst and would get this close to your face and always had terrible breath. So after like years of going to school speech therapist and still having an issue with my R sound, I was like, Mom, can we go back to like my real speech therapist because she's great? And she said yes, and she took me back there for like 3 45-minute sessions, and I was able to say my R for like the rest of my life. So I don't know where I'm going with this. Basically, I just want to let everyone know, like, I have a history of speech issues, and to this day I still struggle with my speech. I slip my R's every now and then, like anytime I take like a nighttime sleep aid when I have a cold or when I'm really nervous in front of people, like when I'm on stage. So what is the point of this video? Yes, let's get to that. So I just wanted to make this video to be like, hey, if you have a speech impediment or if you struggle with your speech, you're not alone. There's so many people that do. Anyone who wasn't born in this country, they probably don't have a perfect American accent. Anyone who has like a mispronunciation of a letter, a stutter, a mumbling issue, what else? A lisp, like what's going on right now. Like, there's so many people out there that have speech issues, and you cannot let it hold you back. Because in my eyes, like, a person is either a poet or not a poet. Like, there is no in between. Like, you are either a poet and you absolutely need to write poetry and perform your poetry, share with the world, or like, you're not a poet, please get out of the room, sit down, don't ever try to write poetry. And if you know in your heart that you are a poet, do not let something that is out of your control stop you from doing the poetry thing. Of course, you can practice your poems, you can practice your speech, you can do a lot of things to improve yourself, but at the end of the day, nobody's perfect. And you can't hold yourself to that expectation of perfection. It's not healthy. So I think that's all I have to say. Oh, I think I wanted to share some lines from a poem. Yes, the poem is titled New Shit. Also link in the description. It's like 1,000,000 years old. If you want to watch it, go ahead. I like it. My hair is short then, fun. And this section of it is like my favorite. Poet is not a pre-constructed persona that you can just step into like flight attendant or news anchor. No, poet is mother, poet is creator, poet is person who has the guts to be one. So come stutterers, come stammerers, come mispronouncers, come clutterers, even if the audience has to sift through foreign accents like wreckage from a transatlantic accident, then so be it. And that's, I guess, all I wanted to say from it. But yeah, so if you go to a show and you don't have perfect speech and people check out for that reason, then they are missing out on your story, and that is on them. I promise in any given room, there is a handful of people who will put the work in to understand your poem and will walk away with your message. So thank you so much for watching. Don't be afraid to do poetry if your speech isn't perfect, because no one's perfect, and that's okay. I love you all, and have a wonderful day, and I will see you next week.